Hey everyone, welcome to PunkCast. My name is William Maxwell. I'm a student of Web3 and the owner of Punk9527. Cryptopunks are 10,000 uniquely generated characters stored permanently on the Ethereum blockchain. No punk is the same. This is a show dedicated to celebrating the punks behind the punk. My hope for this podcast is that we capture the essence of the punk culture, elevate the brand and the individual behind the punk. One last thing. Projects discussed on the show is not financial advice. Crypto and NFTs are a volatile and risky asset class. Please always do your own research. Other than that, let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of PunkCast. Today we've got an awesome punk to interview. Punk6922 is a Atty with wild hair, earring, small shades, and mustache. He's a longtime punk member, currently holding 18 Cryptopunks with a large mix of blue bandanas. He's also the founder of Pizza Dao Rare Pizzas. Please welcome my fellow Mobro, Snax.eth, to the show. Snax, welcome. How are you?
GM. I'm doing great. It's good to be here. It's good to be introduced by my attributes.
Well, mate, we'll have to sort of unpack that because I know you've got a pretty unique collection here and you've got a pretty interesting story. And I think you've been in the punk community for a long time, so you could fill me in on a lot of the history before I came along. But maybe if we can just start off slowly, what's the story behind your handle, Snax? How did you come up with that?
So in college, we had this student body funding program where students would vote on different student projects to fund. And so the one I did was called Disguised Do-Gooders. DIDG was the acronym. And we would do costumed acts of kindness around the campus, like dress up as ninjas with yellow dishwashing gloves on and go into dorms and wash the dishes and then scatter when dormies appeared. And super fun and really silly. And then one of the things that we did, one of the stunts I pulled, I would dress up as Snack Man, which was a superhero dressed, decked out in a bunch of like old snack wrappers that I had kind of pieced together into a costume. And I would, go out and share a lot of snacks around the campus.
Beautiful.
And so, snacks.
It's an awesome nickname and very punchy. 4 letters, and you got the ETH handle, which must have been really hard to get. Or maybe not so much if you were there early.
Yeah, I had to. You know what's funny? I got a Lens invite, and the minimum character length on Lens is 5 characters. And so I let it expire. I couldn't decide.
Well, mate, Snax it is. Mate, so tell me about your background then. Like, where did you grow up? What did you study? I guess what was your whole journey, sort of pre-crypto and NFTs?
Certainly. So I grew up in Philly, in the city, till I was like in 4th grade or so. Then we moved to the burbs. And then I went to school out in Portland, Oregon, actually. I went to Reed College, which is Steve Jobs famously dropped out of Reed, and so did I. But while I was there, I was studying math, and I was kind of aiming myself at biochemistry and like the intersection of biochemistry and mathematics, computer science, that kind of stuff. And then I ended up dropping out because I did some research in a lab, and I realized that this maybe wasn't the life I wanted. And I was working on a thesis about I switched my thesis topic a few times, and anyway, so I dropped out. I was living in this grow house, actually, that my friends operated out in Oregon, and I started just spending a ton of time on Twitter, and I saw Lulzsec hack Sony, if you remember that.
No, what was that about?
So this was like 2011, and there was this really silly hacker group called Lulzsec with a mascot that had a curly mustache and a little glass of red wine and a monocle. And I just thought he was hilarious. And they were hacking all these big companies, and they hacked Sony's like consumer, their email password database. And eventually they got caught. But at some point along the road, they started accepting Bitcoin. And I was like, smoking all the leftover weed from the grow and just spending my whole day on the internet at this time. And and so I had plenty of time to research, and I read the white paper, and I was a math major in college, so currency backed by math just sort of clicked immediately, honestly. And this was 2011.
That's 2011. So the Bitcoin white paper was out in 2011. So talk to me about the decision when you dropped out. Like, was it an easy decision, hard decision? Like, how did you weigh that up?
Well, it wasn't so hard because it seemed like I was like, well, maybe the value of dropping out from Reed is similar to the value of a degree. If I can just say Steve Jobs dropped out, and then which I think is pretty funny. And I'd already taken a lot of the math courses, like pretty much every one I was interested in. So I felt like I could see the way the world was moving, and a math degree and the ability to program meant that a degree didn't really matter, especially if I didn't necessarily want to pursue the science, like the scientist career that I had been targeting. I kind of I was a bit confused for sure, and so I figured it was better to just sit back and think.
And so where did that lead you next then?
So I started buying Bitcoin at about $20, and it was so exciting. I was buying on Mt. Gox and using Dwala and TradeHill and all these random platforms to just get money into the system. And I was betting on BitBet and posting on Bitcoin Talk, and it was just such an exciting time. And I watched it. I would even trade it, which was a mistake. I learned around like after I traded the chop between 3 and like 600 and ended up with less Bitcoin than I started with. I just never traded again. I just buy and hold Bitcoin now. But yeah, at this time, I learned about Bitcoin, and then I ended up moving back east, and I was working at actually family business. My uncle had a wine company, and so I did some SQL. I did some data. I was spending like $60,000 on clicks on AdWords back in yeah, and then eventually I started my own consulting business. Left that actually. I did some of the due diligence. We sold that company. Well, during this time was when I learned about was when I got into NFTs, and I was organizing Bitcoin events actually from 2013 when I moved back to Philly. I was organizing them on Meetup.com. We would meet outside the Pizza Hut at the 30th Street station in Philly and just push tables together and talk about DAOs and Bitcoin. And we thought DAOs were like self owning taxi cabs back then. I don't think we yet fully grokked that like humans were the hands and feet of DAOs and also of Bitcoin, right? In a way.
So you came more through deep into the Bitcoin sort of trenches, and I think Pizza Dao was it is I'm assuming it's related to the pizza story where somebody paid a lot of Bitcoin for a pizza at some stage. Is that linked to Pizza Dao at all, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so Laszlo, he famously paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas, and they were Papa John's pizzas. So this was May 22nd, 2010 when he did this. Like, I think of it as the first time that cryptocurrency acted on the physical world in a way, right? Because it was the first physical transaction where Bitcoin actually you could take it and you could buy food. And that's like a big deal, right? When we cross that barrier as an ecosystem. And it's a funny story, It's like there's this account, Bitcoin Pizza, that just tweets out the value of 10,000 Bitcoin every night.
What is 10,000 Bitcoin worth now?
Let's look at the account today. It's okay. Here we go. Bitcoin Pizza. Today we're at 281 million.
Wow.
So that's a lot of pizza.
That is a lot of pizza.
We estimate pizzas about $25 per pie these days, and so that's 11.2 million pies.
It's crazy. Oh man. So tell me how or what inspired you to create Pizza Dao? So you started forming these pizza meetups on Meetup app to talk about Bitcoin. And then how did I guess that sort of transition into a formal DAO?
So in 2018, one of my co-organizers of that Bitcoin meetup group, he invited me to go to this event in New York. It was called the Rare AF Festival. And at this event were Matt Hall from CryptoPunks, the Decentraland guys, Bea from Dada, and I think DJ Skrilla from Rare Pepe, and Joe Looney, who made the Pepe wallet. And so this was just everybody. Mac from CryptoKitties, actually, I think he called in and did because he couldn't make it. But so I, in one evening, got exposed to everyone who was building anything in NFTs, pretty much. And I was immediately bought in. I mean, immediately NFT build because I saw some really smart, awesome people and talked to them. Got to talk to Matt Hall about like CryptoPunks. And this was when CryptoPunks they were about $100 This was January 18th, 2018. And so I went home actually, and I went on and I bought, I think, 11 punks or so for around point 0.1 to 0.14 each, which was about $100 then, 100 to 150. And it felt weird. It felt weird at the time, which is funny.
I can imagine, man. So, maybe just tell us a little bit about that particular event. Did you say Rare AF Festival?
Yeah, rare AF. And I think people will look back on this and realize this was a historic event. In fact, it's captured in the Pepe documentary. If you've seen that about Matt Fury, it's such a great documentary. Feels good, man.
Yeah, I think that one taught me, I guess, the power of memes and how that sort of propagates, I guess, communities and key themes. So that was a really good one to for me to watch anyway. So he was there, was he?
I don't think he was there, but the rare Pepe community was there. And so in the portion of the doc that talks about rare Pepes, there's some footage from the event, and I actually you can see me in it at around the hour mark or a little past. And so that was this event, and I believe a Homer Pepe sold for $100 or $300,000 at auction at that event, which was, I mean, it
Oh
was
wow.
mind blowing for me. And I actually bid, I think, $10 or even $20,000 on an aluminum foil kitty hat, which was yeah, it was an early accessory for CryptoKitties that you could attach to your cat, and I was mercifully outbid.
What did it end up going for? Do you know?
Oh man, I think like 30 maybe. Yeah,
Crazy.
maybe even a little more. I don't think they're worth much.
So what was the context of the Rare AF festival? I mean, rare as fuck is what I'm thinking it's for, but was it more digital NFTs? Was that the theme behind it, or
Yeah, it was specifically an NFT event. I came in and the first thing that I did before going into the main panel room was there was a guy at a table. He said, "Okay, you're going to take out $1. You're going to write 'artists deserve more' on it, and any kind of art you want. You're going to take a picture. And I'm going to send you an NFT." And so I did it, and I still have the dollar actually hanging right next to my desk. I never got the NFT. But yeah, it was an NFT event, and so I was just really privileged to get to experience all of these builders really, really early.
amazing? So you got the opportunity to speak to Matt Hall.
Yeah,
What was that conversation like? What was the vibe? What was the chat like?
I think I was just brainstorming like how to build and what I wanted to build, and I was really into. I'm not sure what my pet project was at the time. I know that immediately after the event, we started designing a tulip NFT that we say we'll release every spring and and have not released. But I think I connected with him. I don't know. I could check our old Discord messages and see, what I was asking him about.
But it was enough for you to go home and sweep a bag of punks, right?
So I looked at all of the stuff that was on display, and it was harder to set up a counterparty wallet and get rare Pepes. And rare Pepes are a little weirder. Like it was easy for me to connect with how the punks looked because punks they really take advantage of their 24 by 24 pixel palette. Like that pixel canvas right there and their color palette. They really do a lot with a little. I could immediately register them as good design, and so I connected with them.
Yeah, nice. Maybe you can talk us through, I guess, your first NFT. Was a punk your first NFT? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I set up a MetaMask and I was looking at these transactions preparing for this, and I transferred a bit of ETH in. I saw, and then I bought Punk 3805 was my first punk. It was point one floor punk, January 20th, 2018, 2 days after the Rare AF event. I call them vape hawks. I used to have four. I actually sold them all last year, but he has a mohawk thin and a vape. And I think it looks so funny because they're the same color, so it kind of looks like there's an L jammed through the punk's head. And he also
yeah, I've got it. I've got it up now. Yeah,
and then he has an earring and nerd glasses as well. He's a cool looking punk, honestly, and I definitely was picking for the ones that aesthetically I was picking. When I first looked through the collection, I was definitely looking at rarity of attributes and checking, and there was no attributes floor display actually on the site back then. You had to do this manually. I think that actually changed the dynamics of some of the pricings when that page was updated on the site, which is funny. But But yeah, back then I was just kind of, saying, okay, well, I like how this one looks. And it seems like vape at 272 punks is a bit rarer than some of the other traits. And so that was why I went with this guy first. And then I think I might have bought one more. And then I got the bug and I transferred more ETH in and bought some more.
What was it about punks for you at that time? I know you said that they just vibed a little bit more than I guess the Pepes did, and probably a little bit more accessible than setting up a counterparty wallet. But was there anything else that really stood out to you around why you caught the bug for punks?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been an early adopter. I mean, I bought Bitcoin at $20. I bought Facebook at $25. I was early on Tiny Chat and like all these weird platforms. I was a Clubhouse early adopter, when that came out. And so I like to immerse myself in new stuff. And so NFTs seemed super real to me, like legitimate tech. And I wanted to build this tulip NFT because I liked CryptoKitties breeding and stuff, but I didn't like how they looked that much. And so I thought tulips, obviously funny joke, an obvious joke, and we could do a nice job. I met my co-founder at that event. And so it just felt like this, if I was gonna get into this ecosystem, I should probably get some skin in the game, and this was the one that made sense. I mean, like I could have bought a crypto kitty, and I didn't like how they looked. I could have bought a Pepe, and I didn't feel like setting up a counterparty wallet. And I could have bought mana tokens. I did buy mana tokens for Decentraland. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't like I had a sea of PFPs to choose from. Punks were like it.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. And obviously you made the best choice out of all those options back then in hindsight. But and then maybe talk to me a little bit about the ones that you've collected. And we'll come back to your primary punk in a moment. But you've got a pretty big collection of blue bandanas. What sort of drawn you to, I guess, the blue bandanas?
Yeah, so I have long believed in copy left. I was an early adopter of CC0, I guess, in a way, because in actually when Shopify first enabled Bitcoin payments back in 2013 with BitPay, I I just wanted to accept Bitcoin for something, so I started selling T-shirts with a business called Pirate Printing Company, and the premise was that our because T-shirts were a commodity, uh, our margins and finances would be completely transparent. Guess what? It's harder with a bank account than with than with an ETH wallet, and that our designs would be free to download because who cares if you want to print this design with your local printer? Go for it. I just want to propagate the design. And so for a long time, I've believed that here on Earth we could have a much richer variety of stuff if everything was copy left. So, I mean, your hardware came with instruction manuals to build it and tear it down and repair it. And your every code, you can go beneath the hood and change it. And so, getting back to bandanas, I looked at CryptoPunks and I said, wow, these punks that specifically have a blue bandana and an eye patch are very much pirate punks. They are the most piratey of any punk. And in fact, I even was thinking to myself, if I want to culture jam pirates in the metaverse, if I want to buy pirates in some metaphorical set, right? If I want to buy that meme, maybe getting a strong position cornering the market on pirate crypto punks is a way to do that.
That's a nice one. Where do you think you'll take that? Do you think you'll experiment with that any further?
So I'm not going to say I'm done accumulating. There may be some swaps that I'm looking to make. And ultimately, I would like my collection of pirates to fund the beliefs that got me into the pirates. So I'm going to figure out a way to turn these pirate punks into copyleft ecosystem tools or incentives.
Just for everybody, including myself, can you elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by copy left?
Yeah, it's like the opposite of copyright. It basically just means, if I put this out there into the world, you're welcome to go ahead and copy it and reuse it as you see fit. I will say, I do kind of like recursive copyleft, where anyone who copies and reuses has to also enable copy and reuse on whatever they created. But I'm not fully convinced whether we have to always enforce that sort of GPL style recursive copyleft. But yes, so copyleft in general is this idea that information is free to copy, free to access, and maybe we should treat it that way economically.
That's cool. Let's talk about your primary punk now. So you've got 18 punks, and the guy that you chosen as your primary punk is wild hair, small shades, earring, mustache, just like me. Why have you chosen this guy as your primary punk?
So in 2020, I think punks were doing their first run up from like 1 ETH to 3. And this was when Rarible dropped their token and they were giving rewards for trading, kind of like Blur. And so people were trading punks like crazy, and I started to feel like it was time to get my Grail punk, whatever that might be. And so I looked through all the traits and I picked the ones that most represent me as I actually looked. And so I knew it would be wild hair because I've got wild hair. And I knew that mustache was the best facial hair for me because even though I have a beard, I think it's kind of mustache character. And I don't like how front beard looks. So mustache was in it. I wear earrings, 2 dangly earrings always. So earring had to be there. And then I actually have a pair of small shades that are just like that, in fact, that I got one year because I was Punk Superboy. If you remember 90s Superboy, I was him for Halloween one year. So I have these nice round shade little glasses. So yeah, so 6922 in all 10,000 is the punk for me.
Nice. He's a good looking one, mate, and definitely you've made him your own.
Thank you.
Um, I know we got a little bit carried away, but going back to Pizza Dao. So, how did you find the inspiration for that and starting that up? And maybe you can explain exactly what that is.
Sure. So PizzaDao is a global pizza co-op. It's a pizza party planner, and it's a pizza faucet for Web3 builders. And the idea for it actually didn't come from pizza, believe it or not. It came from thinking about how to make small businesses community owned. So enable communities to have a share and a stake in their neighborhood. And this became really important to me because I run a neighborhood group in South Philly called South Silly, and it has like 12,000 members. It's all South Philadelphians. And so I know my neighborhood. I know my local businesses. I feel like I know a lot about how my community runs. And especially during COVID and even before COVID, it became really apparent to me that we don't have the best systems in place to support these independent businesses. And even more so, that perhaps the neighborhood would be better positioned to perform the role of a bank in the relationship to these businesses than the banks. Because the banks that service small businesses don't necessarily have the time or inclination to understand that business. Whereas the neighborhood, like I know which coffee shop I care about. I know which pizzeria in my neighborhood I care about, or which gallery. And even the value of those entities to me may not be represented by my commerce with the business, if that makes sense. Because, yeah, I'll buy a coffee every morning, but the value of having an amazing coffee shop, well, that's very high. And so I would talk about that on Clubhouse, and I would say how we had to make blockchain based accounting systems so we could satisfy financial transparency, so we could be legal in the way that we tokenize these businesses, right? So that we could actually tick all the boxes for being a security and let the neighbors buy in. And people would glaze over because that's just a lot of words. And I realized somewhere along the line that Pizza Dao was a lot simpler
In what way?
in that there are more independent pizzerias on earth than perhaps any other kind of business. And they're everywhere. And pizzerias are also generally on the forefront of food tech. And so all of these things together to me meant that pizza was the perfect vessel for this community owned independent business idea.
So then maybe talk a little bit about how it works. And so basically, and how Pizza DAO is related to Rare Pizzas NFT.
Sure. So I've come a bit of a way on how to do this community ownership. So the current latest and greatest idea we have at PizzaDao is that we're going to crowd fund a land purchase. We're going to buy out the landlord of a pizzeria with a willing landlord, and then sign a contract with the pizzeria because we think that maybe is a pretty safe way to protect the neighborhood from getting rugged by a small business going under because they have an asset, they have land, and also to support the pizzeria. But let's pull it back. So Pizza Dao. How did we start? What is the rare pizza, etc.? We came out of Clubhouse where there was this soup of Web3 innovation and sharing. I had just been teaching people what I knew, right? Because I was a few years in at this point, and longer with crypto, right? And so I had a lot of friends that I had kind of taught about it, and we had this community we had built. And so on February 18th in 2021, I was running this room that I always ran on Clubhouse called The Room About Nothing. And this was a refuge from the shill spaces, from the people who just wouldn't shut up. It was really silly. The only rule in The Room About Nothing, the rule was everyone had mod. So so even if we didn't know you, the minute you're in the room, you're on the stage and you have moderator, which led to the room getting rugged and shut by malicious new people. But it's funny. And space is free in the metaverse. So you could just create a new room about nothing if the room gets deleted. So I was running one of those, and we started talking about pizza and about doing a rare pizza NFT in the style of the Hash Mask, which had just released, doing 10,000 pizzas generated from a collaboration of artists. And I put up a Google Doc, a spreadsheet, an open edit spreadsheet with a huge list of toppings. And I said, okay, let's open the floodgates. And at this point, so we started in The Room About Nothing. We started talking about this. The room grew. I changed the name to The Room About Pizza. And the room grew again. And then I changed it to pizza plus Web3 equals free pizza, question mark, question mark. And then it grew. And so we had like 200 or 300 people in this Clubhouse room just talking about, okay, we're gonna sell an NFT. We're going to take the proceeds and we're going to buy pizza, and we're going to buy pizza for the world. We're going to throw a global pizza party. And then we made a Discord, and within a week we had 1,000 members in this Discord, and we had 100 plus artists signed up to do toppings. It was mad. It was
Nice.
wild.
And so where are you guys at with it today, and where are you looking to take it going forward?
Yeah. So today we have spent about $900,000 from our treasury on our activities. Over half of that, I would say 550,000 or so, directly on pizza, which we've given away. We've done that in, which I think is pretty efficient for like a nonprofit type of an organization, right? That we could spend more than half of our funds on, literally on pizza. And we've done that in 75 countries, working with over 500 different pizzerias and lots of pizza organizations. We've made a lot of friends along the way, and we've thrown 2 global pizza parties. Plus, we're getting really good at throwing pizza parties. Like we threw a really fun one in Denver. We threw a great one in Denver last year. We threw a great one in New York, and we're getting ready for, gosh, the next year is going to be crazy. We're planning one in New York on the 13th of April coming up. We're planning one potentially in Barcelona in May, in Lisbon in June, in Seoul in September, and of course globally on May 22nd. In fact, if you go to parties.pizzadao.xyz, we call that the big board. And so you can see, anyone who hears this later, you can see if there's an event coming to your neighborhood. And if there isn't, let's make it happen.
Nice. Jeez, wow, you've got a pretty big list here. Sounds exciting, mate, but got to get Hong Kong on the list at some stage.
It's on there. Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm going to add you right now. Yeah, check it out. It's row 27.
Okay, I see it. Okay,
I got you on there. Look at you. You're in there. C27. You're already in the cell.
Nice. I see Robbie in there too. I was actually speaking to him today, actually.
Got to get Robbie involved, of course. He's excited about it, actually. He's Italian, so.
Yeah, he loves pizza. He showed me some of the best pizza joints around. So, exciting.
There you go.
That's sort of exciting and promising to sort of hear that you're working on something fun, man.
Yeah, our 3rd global pizza party. This is we're doing it. We're gonna. I think if we pull off a 3rd time, I think the 4th time, it's pretty lindy that it's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's fun. So you're going to be in NFT NYC, and I think is it Denver coming up?
So Denver just happened. Denver was great. I love ETH Denver, one of my favorite conferences. NFT NYC is in April. That's 12th through the 15th. I'll be there. Also, quick plug. I think probably one of the best, if not the best, sheet of side events. So if anyone's going to NFT NYC, go to SHEETS.xyz. It's pretty nice. Oh, I'm also planning an event for Consensus. Yeah, we're planning an event for Consensus at the end of April. So we are really busy planning pizza parties over here.
That's crazy. Must be a fun life, working around pizza and crypto and NFTs, man.
I can't complain, man. I'm not, I can't say I'm getting paid super well, if at all. In fact, I think I may just be paying for the privilege, but it is quite a privilege. So I think it's worth it.
So maybe a question to close off the pizza conversation then. What's your go-to pizza then?
All right, so this is gonna crush our listeners. Gluten-free, vegan cheese with pepperoni, spinach, and onions.
Boom. I'd love to try that out one day. I've never tried
It's
a
not bad.
gluten-free pizza before, and vegan cheese.
Yeah,
That is.
I'll say gluten-free pizza has gotten a lot better in the last decade. The best gluten-free pizza is Detroit style because there's something about having a little more thickness to work with that lets you really create a nice chew. Whereas the thin ones, they always have a bite like a cracker. I do not, I can't recommend them.
Nice. All right, and then if we get on back to, I guess, some punk questions. What would be your dream punk if money wasn't an issue?
So there is a zombie CryptoPunk pirate. He's Punk2229. Actually, my good friend Rasterize owns him. So it's kind of like I feel like it's close enough for me. In fact, I pressured him very, very heavily in I think it was 2020 to swap. He had another zombie. It had an orange beanie and a smile. And there was this pirate punk in the NFTX pool. This was right when NFTX did their token launch. And so you could deposit a punk and get paid really very well in NFTX tokens. And so someone did this with 2249, which for me, right, one of the perhaps the best crypto punk in all 10,000, right? And the zombie pirate. So you could swap your zombie punk in and out of that pool to get a different one. And so I sat there with him and we didn't nonce cancel, which would have been smart and saved us some gas because you could see which token was getting emitted and canceled before it hit your wallet. We just powered through and burnt a crap ton of ETH, but it was worth it. He has 2249. It's probably my favorite punk, but I'm glad it's in his hands because he got the Tiffany necklace too. I probably wouldn't have done that, and it's good that he did.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool looking punk. The zombie bandana pirate is definitely a classic too. Need to try and get Rasterize in here too. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, yeah. Funny story. So Rasterize actually, I paid him in Bitcoin in 2013 to make designs for Pirate Printing Company, the T-shirt company I mentioned earlier, and that was his intro into this space. And he held that Bitcoin I paid him. Good thing.
Were you the one that sort of got him into NFTs? And
Oh yeah, we were good. We were good friends, before. But I got him in. I wasn't a designer. I'm not. I'm still not. I'm a little better now. But yeah, he's a good designer. So
yeah, he was showing me a print that he made of all the 10,000 CryptoPunks on a poster.
I have one.
Oh man, I want to get one.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah, I need to get one of him. Cool.
It's funny. He did a test print of it with a white background, and he realized that you can't see the wild whites, and so the blue background is the way.
Makes sense.
And I love the Punk's blue back. There's something about this blue for me after all these years. I think I have quite a soft spot for this particular shade.
And how do you see punks in general, though? I mean, do you see them as arts? Do you see them as a collectible? How do you sort of bucket punks for you?
I think they straddle it. Like I said before, I think that Matt and John with this 24, and I guess mostly John because he did the design. With this 24 by 24 pixel canvas they just did a great job. Punks are the most identifiable PFP at any scale, and they don't look out of place in an art museum. They just don't. They are. It's a really nice use of pixels, and so for me, they are clearly art. I think there's a reason they're in the Pompidou now, and they're in I think LACMA, right, and in that museum in Miami. So they're clearly art, and then obviously they're a collectible, right? Because I mean, here I am collecting pirates, and I know other people have similar, have different collector strategies. So they definitely fit that. And within the space, as a PFP, I think we are certainly we are the first community. Like, I have been lurking and chatting in the Cryptopunks Discord for years, and it's that community that is responsible, as you know, right? Running this series, you know that this Cryptopunks community that we built together in that Discord over the years has given rise to many, many, many of the projects in this space.
Absolutely. And a ton of alpha too, for sure.
Tons of alpha. I mean, every time I don't buy a punk's project, I regret it.
Absolutely. Mate, and what's in the bag for you? Like, what do you like collecting, and generally, why do you collect?
So I think of NFTs. I'm big about culture jamming. Like, I wear a fishing vest every day. I'm covered in pins. I wear two dangly earrings. I have a Buzz Lightyear backpack. I try and culture jam pirates and pizza. And when I say culture jam, I just mean that when my friends are out in the world and they see Buzz Lightyear or a pirate or pizza, like, there's a good chance they say, "I wonder what Snax is up to," and that is great for me because I, love it when people reach out and say hello. So with my NFTs, I think of it similarly. And one thing I've been, when normies ask me about the state of, like, what is a PFP? Why do you want a PFP in this, like, time? I think it's a wager that a group of people will like you. And so I definitely try and buy collections where I want to be friends with those holders. So what's in my bag? Let's see. I got a bunch of crypto voxels because I love crypto voxels. I have I have a pretty decent sized art blocks bag, especially Stevie P. I really like Stevie P. I've got a bunch of plottables instructions for defacement, where you can it's that you can print those designs on a dollar bill. For me, that really connects with my onboarding into the space with that dollar that I never got the NFT for. So I love those. And I have a stupid percent of the imposter syndrome art blocks collection. There are 100 of those. And I think between me and my mom on various wallets, we may have 16. um, and I have this collection of Maxara gifs. I think Maxara is so funny. He made this gif of a Visa credit card breaking up a pile of the CryptoPunk that they purchased, like a pile of the heads, like it's cocaine. I think is just a hilarious gif. I love the wides, my favorite punk derivative, right? Because they're so wide and they just get wider, and they reference the SVG on chain. They're the best wides with 3 eyes. If y'all don't know them, I have a big bag of low effort punks because if anyone's a Borges fan, that story Pierre Maynard, which is about this Frenchman trying to write the Quixote, but in the 1800s, and how his version is so much better because anyway, I think the low effort punks are very Pierre Maynardian because it's this guy that he's drawing every one of the 10,000 punks, and they don't actually correlate. It's not the same punk for the ID. They truly are low effort, but he is drawing 10,000 punks by hand. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I've seen them around. I think playing into a little bit of the fat punk thesis as well, right?
Yes. And I think there is, if there's a fat punk thesis, then maybe there's a fat punk derivatives thesis. And so I'm placing my bet. My absolute favorite punk derivatives are those two. Then I have a stupid amount of rare pizzas, obviously, like over 100.
I could see. And if you look at your NFT career today, like, what would your best wins and losses be?
Oh, big win lately, and this is I got a bunch of, well, for me, I think I bought a bunch of Rob Ness's new collection on Super Rare. It's like a QR cowboy kind of a collection, and I picked up 4 of those. And so when he got into the Pompidou, I was just so proud to be a part of his collector base. But I mean, gosh, obviously punks, right? I can't. How can I outcompete $100 to whatever they're worth today? um, you know, 6 figures. So that's that's hard to compete with. Otherwise, I bought a squiggle for very, very little, and I'll never sell it. So I have a unigrid. I have an autoglyph that Jimmy sold me. I have autoglyph number 314 actually, which I feel like should belong to PizzaDao because it's the pi glyph. So we'll see. But yeah, but I have that, and then I got a yeah. I mean, more recently, actually, I bought a bunch of I bought 3 uni socks at 15.9 ETH average. And then I sold one to PizzaDao for 20.69 ETH, which I just think is funny, and I like PizzaDao, so that's yeah, I'm proud of that one. Yeah.
Nice. Uh, Crazy times. Mate, so, I mean, like, you've got of the 18 CryptoPunks, you basically bought most of them less than 5 ETH, most of them less than 1 ETH, to be honest. What's given you the conviction to hold through these booms and busts? Like, I think there was a peak when, punks were like 140 ETH, but you still held on relatively strong and you haven't really sold that many compared to what you're holding.
Yeah, I probably should have sold one at 140 ETH, there are a few that I could part with that I still have, my you could probably see which ones are maybe my least favorite in here, but but look, you're talking to someone who held Bitcoin from 20 bucks up to now. So my emotions are just numb to the fluctuation of these crypto assets. Yeah, and I believe in culture jamming. I believe in this ecosystem. So that makes it not so hard to hold on. And I'm building in this space. Like I am here. I am building Pizza Dao for, we have plans that are going to take 5 to 10 years to execute on. And I'm here for it. And I'm working on this tulip NFT one spring. Everyone's going to be surprised. We're going to release it. and
Do you want to just talk a little bit about your Tulip NFT project? Like, what is that?
Yeah, sure. So it's a tulip. We just want to make some nice looking flowers that have some good variation that you can breed. And we have a game ecosystem around them. We have some very funny mechanics. We may have some sheep that you feed them to that reward you with fertilizer. Which you then, there's some economics going on in how it all works. And we've just been developing it since January 2018. So it's hard to make a good game though. If you look around at our ecosystem, there just aren't that many. There are very, very few. I think you can count them on maybe one hand blockchain games that are fun. It is hard to make a fun game. It is just hard. And so we're taking our time.
Well, mate, looking forward to you dropping the Tulip game and NFT. And who's your favorite punk personality? Because I mean, it'd be interesting to hear from you because you've been in the community for so long. Who's your favorite punk?
Yeah. So Rasterize made these wonderful GIFs of a few different punks. And the one that I think I use the most is there's this of Chuli's punk winking. And I use it all the time because I don't know. Like the glasses drop a little bit and then the eye winks. And, Chuli has been a stalwart in the CryptoPunks Discord since very early and, has been moderating. And I think Chuli is very much a punk, and not every CryptoPunk holder is a punk. And I like that we have people like Chuli in the community to remind us, what it is punks feel about the world, maybe, which is not always. I think it is aligned in many ways with lots of parts of the crypto ethos. But once a collection gets up to six figures, most punks are priced out. So I really appreciate Chuli's presence.
Yeah, Chuli's definitely. We're lucky to have somebody like Chuli in our community for sure, right? She lives and breathes punks, and she's doing a lot of it, basically for free, right? So yeah, she's an awesome punk and community member to have. And if you were to describe punk culture in a few words for you, how would you describe that?
I think I'm sure everyone thinks of this differently. For me, it's builders. Certainly, it's people who want to build this ecosystem first and foremost. That's who should own punks. That's who has owned punks. And after that, I mean, I think it's changed over the years a lot. Now that they're so expensive, I think that it's a very different community, and so it's funny, over the years that now you can learn like what the best office chair is to buy or like so punks because it's such a luxury good now. I feel like the community has become expert about luxury items, which is interesting, which is funny, is valuable because taste is tough to know actually what is good out there, like media, goods, objects. I don't know. I think that there is an opportunity for a lot of these communities to become tastemakers in a way. So I think punks have pretty good taste in general, which is definitely useful. And then, I mean, for me, even though I guess, Yuga Labs owns the brand Cryptopunks in some sense, and in some sense, each individual punk holder has, the IP for their punk. But I actually think of punks as more of a nounish property, and I believe their propagation across the other chains is testament to this. And I've never had a problem with, going back to the Binance punks days, the bunks. I've never had a problem with these copy mints because if you display my NFT and I have the canonical NFT, the canonical reference, then you're pumping my bags, and that's great. Go out there, show off my punks on any chain you want, because Fat Punk's thesis, that value is going to flow back to my NFT. And I think that is the NFT thesis, right? It's that we can have this incredibly strong canonical reference that we all agree that's the thing. And anyone else can go ahead and say that another thing is the thing, but we're all going to agree that that original thing is the thing. And hey, we can even change consensus, right? If we decided, oh, actually, we don't want to reward the creators of that thing anymore, we could even fork and decide something else was the thing. But that to me is why I really connected to punks, was that pirate ethos and that idea that, look, we live in a world, attention is the only scarce resource on earth.
So I think you're more sitting on the full decentralized view, CC0, Web3 sort of model, and I can sort of see that merits for that as well. And I think when you were in sort of the Web3 space, is that we can't really rely on jurisdictions to enforce a lot of the licensing rights, so and the IP rights, because if somebody uses it in, I don't know, China or something like that, it's dependent on who's going to enforce that for you. And if you're not operating in a jurisdiction where it's enforceable, then it becomes more of a social contract, right? So I'm with you on that, but also at the same time, though, like it's. I mean, I take a look at reference to the Moonbirds, how they came out and announced that it was CC0. Even though nothing really changes, theoretically, in terms of, I don't think a lot of people are going to go out and find licensing deals for their Moonbird, but the floor price is absolutely tanked. So I think there's like,
I think that's a communications.
I don't know,
it's a communications problem. I think the Moonbirds, look, when they launched, from the moment they launched and they kind of goosed FOMO about their mint with the pre-mint stuff, I think they were just doomed to disappoint people. They got too high too fast. And though I am certainly a CC0 maxi, and I applaud their decision to go CC0, I think that's really cool. And I think K-Ro did the right thing. They definitely could have messaged it better and worked with their community better, because it seemed like everyone was really surprised. And you don't want that.
Well, let me ask you this then. Would you be okay if Yugo came out and said, we're going to give up your IP rights in CC0?
The punks?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be absolutely thrilled.
Yeah? Okay. Interesting.
That would be the ideal. That's the ideal case for me, is that punks become CC0 officially.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it, because I think I'm sort of on the fence, because I think on the one hand, it's like, if, you get a corporate coming in and they're monetizing your IP, and there's a way for them to monetize it. Say, for example, I don't know, unlikely chance, but, Disney comes in and makes a movie feature-length animation and features your punk, and they're making some pretty big coin off it from the box office. Would you feel a little bit different about IP rights then, or would you still be okay with it?
I would have to assume that if I still owned the NFT, that some amount of that value would flow back to my NFT, right? Would it be enough? I don't know.
Through, I guess, intrinsically through attention, you mean? So
just like the wizard hat noun's pumped, right? Because they released that animation. Like, you can't get a wizard hat noun anymore.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting one. How do you feel about V1 punks?
I think they're slightly overvalued. I actually like Hemba. I know a lot of our community thinks Hemba, has different opinions of Hemba, but Hemba sold me a bunch of my punks so for 0.1. So I gotta like him. And I think, look, V1s are a part of punk's history. I think they're slightly overvalued. I think that fair value is maybe like 5% of punk's floor ish, because they're like a bug. They're a historic bug for me. And so that's how I place them in the narrative.
Yep. It's cool. How do you feel about BTC punks on ordinals?
I'm excited about ordinals. I haven't done enough with it. I actually don't really collect. The only punk derivatives I've collected are wides and low effort punk. So I'm not out there collecting a ton of copy mints. I actually have a funny site, illegalpunks.com. If you go, it has a bunch of memes from the Binance Punks community that I threw up on there that I think are just so funny. Like there's one that says, do not download punk, go directly to jail or something like that. Like a bunch of stuff. but yeah, Bitcoin punks are cool. I guess I think ultimately probably more original art on the BTC on ordinals will be what people care about. But I would definitely want to make Rare Pizzas V2 with Pizza Dao on ordinals, and we're working on it. So I like ordinals.
Nice. And how did you feel about the Yuga acquisition when that happened?
Oh God, it was crushing. It felt like the apes were like suddenly our boss. we got totally, and so I think the OG punk community felt like it's like your nephew or something, like like I don't know, bought your house, or I don't know. um, it just it was definitely surprising, and for me, like with my desire for punks to be CC0, it certainly poked a hole in that, because I don't think it's incredibly likely. I think it's possible, but I don't think it's incredibly likely that's going to happen when they bought the brand. So for me, yeah, it was crushing. But so far, look, I think Noah's done a really nice job. I really appreciate having punks in the museums he's placed them in, and I think he's treating the collection the right way. So I'm working with it, and ultimately, I'm not terribly concerned about the effect of anything that Yuga Labs does on the ultimate value of CryptoPunks, because my NFT thesis, and we'll see if it plays out, is that these things really can and should stand on their own.
Nice. And if you could pass on a message to the next owner of your punk, 6922, what would you like to say to them?
I don't know if there's going to be a next owner of 6922 unless I get scammed. So probably fuck you.
That'll be a nice message for the next owner. And Snax, this sort of wraps up the last of the interview questions. But man, it was super fun jamming with you on punks and learning a lot more about the history and the community behind it. And you're definitely one of the key participants in the punk community. So thank you for joining PunkCast. Any final closing comments, and how can people find you?
Well, just thanks so much for doing this. This is a great series. There is so much history in this punk community, and you are documenting it. So this is an amazing service you're doing. It's so awesome.
Thank you.
And I'm on Twitter. I'm at Snack SNACK_man on all platforms. I'm Snax.eth on the blockchain, Snax.eth. Shoot me a message if anything I said connected with you, or if you want to join PizzaDao, or if you want to go to a pizza party in your city on May 22nd. It's a Monday night.
Mate, looking forward to eating some of these pizzas, courtesy of Pizza Dao. And hopefully we can catch up at one of these punk in real life meetups at some stage too, man. Be nice to catch up.
Are you going to be in New York?
Not this year. I went last year, and I've got to do some European trips planned this year. So hopefully I can sneak my way over there if I get the fiance to approve.
Maybe I can stop in London on my way to Lisbon in June.
That might work. Yeah, for sure. But again, thank you so much for joining the call, Snax. And guys, it wraps up another call with PunkCast for the week, and we'll be back next week with another punk. Bye for now.